Professor Franks, let me ask you, I listened to your and Ms. Hemingway's testimony and Professor Turley's, so I got part of it. As I understand it, your position, Professor Franks, is that, I think you used the word myth. It is a myth that the Biden administration used government to compel speech, private speech, but that the Trump administration is doing that. Is that a fair characterization?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Do you think perhaps you're allowing your personal political beliefs to affect your objectivity here?
No, I do not. What is guiding my answers here is that I'm looking to see what the Supreme Court has said. You notice that in the testimony about the censorship industrial complex.
I got that part.
No, I just
want
to
to
clarify.
No, but I've only got 5 minutes. Your answer is no, as I appreciate it. Let me ask you a couple questions. You wrote a law review article in December of 2023 for the New York University Law Review, and it was about the two cases, Bruen, Supreme Court case, and Dobbs. Remember that article?
Yes, I do.
Okay. In this article, you said, I'm going to quote your words, "Taken together, these two cases demonstrate that the Supreme Court has embraced the use of the Constitution as a tool of racial patriarchy," end quote. Did you say that?
Yes.
Okay. And then you went on to say, quote, "When the Supreme Court declares that there is a constitutional right to armed self-defense in public, it openly embraces and promotes a culture that privileges white men's ability to terrorize and kill those that they perceive as threats," close quote. Did I read that correctly?
I believe so. Thank you for reading.
Okay. And did you also say in that article, I'm going to quote again, quote, "by simultaneously expanding white men's right to kill and constricting women's right not to die, this Supreme Court," referring to the current United States Supreme Court, "has turned the Constitution into a homicide pact as well," close quote. Did you write that?
That sounds like me.
Okay. In November of 2024, you tweet, don't you?
I'm not sure what the current terminology is for it, but yes, I am sometimes on the social platform that was formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, you're on a lot, aren't you?
I'm not sure what the relevance of that is.
You try to be provocative on there, don't you?
Again, I'm not sure what the relevance
Well,
of this question
let me
is.
show you the relevance. On November 7th, 2024, from your tweet, here's one of your tweets at 2:41 p.m., quote, "The majority of Americans hate women. The majority of Americans hate women more than they love anything, including democracy," close quote. Did I read that correctly?
I am not sure what this has to do with the subject matter of this
Did you
hearing.
say it?
I do not have those words in front of me. I probably said something along those lines, but
Yeah,
what is
you
the
said it.
relevance of
Here
that
it
to
is,
this
big as
hearing?
Dallas, right there.
Yes.
But your political beliefs don't impact your feelings about President Biden or President Trump.
I don't have feelings about either of them. What I have
Sounds
is
to me
doctrine.
like your favorite feeling is anger. Let me ask you this. You issued another tweet. This was in May of 2022. You've just been tweeting up a storm. You said, quote, "There's a reason why the conservative-dominated Supreme Court thinks the Constitution does not contain a right to an abortion, but is convinced that it contains an individual right to possess firearms. And that reason is white male supremacy," close quote. Did I read that correctly?
Is there a question in this?
Did I read that correctly? That's
Is there
my
a question that is relevant to this hearing?
Did I
Or
read
what
that
we-
correctly? Do you really think that the United States Supreme Court, you're an officer of the court, is guided by white male supremacy?
I believe that the First Amendment prohibits the president
Did you
other
say
state
that?
officials for punishing people for
Did
their
you honestly say that, Professor?
I
And you
believe
expect us,
that the First
as a
Amendment,
Democratic witness, to take you seriously? Are you kidding me?
I believe that you should take
You
the First
heard of
Amendment
curb your
seriously, sir.
enthusiasm? Here's my saying, curb my nausea.
Look, if you think your Twitter feed just magically vanishes the moment you walk into a Senate hearing, think again. We just saw a prominent law professor sit in front of Congress and claim she's this completely neutral, unbiased legal expert. But a senator brought the absolute receipts, reading her own radical law articles and unhinged tweets right into the congressional record. Let's break down what's really going on, because, it actually affects everyday Americans a lot more than it seems on the surface. When Congress holds these hearings, they invite experts to give unbiased legal analysis to help make real decisions. So, naturally, the credibility of the witness is everything. In this hearing, the professor was arguing that it's a total myth that the Biden administration used government power to pressure private speech, but she claimed the Trump administration did exactly that. Now, when the senator asked if her personal politics were bleeding into her judgment, she said absolutely not. She claimed she was just looking at Supreme Court precedent. But here's the problem with that. The First Amendment is supposed to protect us all from government overreach, no matter who is sitting in the White House. When the experts we rely on start filtering our fundamental rights through a heavy partisan lens, the whole legal system takes a massive hit. So, how did the senator test her claim of being completely objective? Well, he pulled up a law review article she wrote in December of 2023 for NYU. In her own words, she wrote that major Supreme Court decisions on abortion and the Second Amendment proved that the court has embraced the Constitution as a, quote, tool of racial patriarchy. Wow, think about that for a second. The Supreme Court's actual job is to interpret the text of the Constitution based on history and law. Disagreeing with a ruling is one thing, but claiming the highest court in the land is just an engine for racial dominance? That's a massive, sweeping accusation.
And it gets worse. She wrote that a constitutional right to armed self-defense in public openly embraces and promotes a culture that privileges white men's ability to terrorize and kill. Wait, what? Honestly, that is where the legal logic just completely flies out the window. The Second Amendment is a fundamental right for every single law-abiding American citizen, period. It's about personal safety and liberty, regardless of your race or background. Framing it as a licensed tool for terror isn't objective scholarship, it's pure ideological rhetoric. If you appreciate looking at the actual facts and constitutional principles instead of the mainstream narratives, please take a moment right now to click that subscribe button. It helps us keep bringing you these logical, factual breakdowns. The senator kept reading, pointing out where she called the current Supreme Court a homicide pact because they expanded gun rights while restricting abortion. Her response? That sounds like me. Seriously? At the end of the day, watching an expert try to claim absolute neutrality while her own timeline reads like a rejected focus group for an ideological grievance convention, it's just peak comedy. It turns out you can write that the Constitution is a homicide pact, but the second you step into a congressional hearing, you're supposed to magically transform into a calm, detached, legal purist. It's like someone flipping over the chessboard and then complaining that the other guy made an illegal move. Next time an expert tells you they're completely unbiased, just check their articles, check their record, and definitely check their tweets. See you next time.